This is your main event, Mark's Podcast, brought to you by the Unhinged Sports Network. I am your first host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, Troy. And with me, as always, is the WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia and the main event collector. He's the Diamond Stud to my Diamond Dallas page. He's Greg. What's up, Greg?
Hey, yo.
Man, you're back. Unfortunately, we couldn't, match up our schedules last week for our first show of the second year of podcasting, but you're back, and I'm happy to have you back, man. We're talking about Great American Bash 1991. How do you feel about covering more WCW from 91?
Normally I'd be okay with it, but man, this event was, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. It's there's some stuff on the show, man. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But this was the show where if
this is one of those ones I had to watch back because I didn't remember it, and that's never a good sign.
Yeah. Well, if anybody goes back and looks at any promotional material, the advertised main event is Lex Luger versus Ric Flair for the WCW title. Well, didn't exactly happen that way.
Well.
Well.
Watching Back to Jokers, they'll know where that came from.
Yeah, right. Well, we are going to talk about a lot of that in the news and notes and all that good stuff for this one, but man, it feels good to be in our second year of podcasting, man. We've survived this long, and people still listen to us.
Remember, we started this just because we were bored because we were locked in the house.
Yeah, I know, because I kept putting it off, and you're like, dude, I'm bored. Let's do a podcast. And I'm like, all right. So, yeah, I don't regret it. It's been fun, and it's given me an excuse to go back and watch some of these old shows that some of them I wouldn't have watched if not for this. So, or if I did, it'd be way down the line. But either way, we are brought to you by Fubo TV and Fanatics. They are sponsors of the show. If you want to cut the cord, Fubo TV is the way to do it. Fanatics has your officially licensed sports swag from all professional sports leagues and even college with the NCAA. Click on the links down in the description. I will not second that. Go Bucks. And not the Bucks in the NBA, by the way. Buckeyes.
No, I want them to win, too, and get rid of the... well, we're recording early, but... anyways, go on.
Anyway, yeah. So, either way, click on the links down in the show description. Let them know that the main event Marks and the Unhinged Sports Network sent you. And also, subscribe if you're listening on the podcast feed. And leave a review. And that would help us out, get us seen, get us heard more. And if you're listening on the podcast feed and want to hear us live, it's unhingedsn.airtime.pro. It's free internet radio. Go to that website. We play live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And again at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, right after that one. So, all right, you ready to dive into all the news and notes we got for today, man?
I think so.
I think you'll actually like some of this. It's wild, man. I'll say that. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about all the news and notes from the summer of 1991. Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event_Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event_Marks and at Main Event Collector. Get all the best podcast swag from the Main Event Marks. Our merch shop offers custom graphics, including the podcast logo, on hats, shirts, masks, greeting cards, and more. There are tons of new designs with more dropping all the time. Just head on over to redbubble.com/people/Main Event Marks to grab your podcast merch today and become an official Main Event Mark. That's redbubble.com/people/Main Event Marks. The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show. All right, news and notes time from June. Wait, we're in June, right, of 91? Or
yeah.
July. Sorry.
Well, July, yeah.
Yeah, so early July, late June of 91. So either way. The first top story here has to be this. It couldn't be anything else. The Ric Flair firing by WCW on July 1st actually made national news, with papers throughout the country picking up the story, with all coverage being sympathetic to Flair. Some local North Carolina reporters are even calling for a fan boycott of WCW events. Wow.
Well, I mean, I remember, dude, back then, Ric Flair was like God in pro wrestling.
Especially in the Carolinas.
Yeah, right.
Ric Flair had put up a $25,000 deposit for the big gold belt, which was standard at the time. Wow. That's like some people's yearly salary.
What's crazy is, it's not a knock, I like the title, but it's like, that title was never that special, I thought, to require that big of a deposit. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, but really?
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say there's no way in hell that thing cost $25,000. Not even a
That would be my
chance.
point, yeah. Unless it was made of actual gold.
Yeah, which I doubt it. But anyway, well, we can ask Conrad Thompson.
Yeah, we're not jewelers, so, but.
Yeah, right. But anyway, right. But anyway, I guess he demanded it back.
Plus interest.
To get the deposit back.
That's a huge thing. He always says he wanted that and interest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. But yeah, I guess he demanded to get the deposit back upon dropping the title, which, that's how deposits work. You don't have it anymore. Yeah. It's like, for people that don't know, when you put a deposit down after that time is expired or whatever, or you don't have that thing anymore, you get the deposit back. So.
Legend has it Jim Herd tried to offer him Pizza Hut coupons instead.
Oh, good Lord.
I can't confirm that. Damn sure not going to deny it, though.
Well, Jim Herd refused, allegedly telling Flair, "Fuck you and that belt." Which is, the most professional thing you could possibly say to one of your employees.
Yeah. There's a reason he's liked by nobody. So, honestly, real quick, have you ever heard anybody say one good thing about that man?
Jim Ross tries to be nice to him, about him. But that's.
Well, he's a southern boy with manners, so to be fair.
Yeah. But just really? The guy's like, hey, that money I gave you that you're supposed to return to me when I, don't have this title anymore, I want it back. No, F you. How dare you? Like, what?
Let's not gloss over Ric Flair, Barry Horowitz himself, because he said he never got the money back early because he felt he was going to have multiple runs. Which, okay, it's not a far-fetched thing to think, but I thought that was fun.
Well, I'm sure he found out in short order. It's like, well, I was integral to the selling or the purchase of WCW by Turner, because Turner came right out and said, well, if no Ric Flair, I don't want the company. So after that, he was probably like, well, I'm going to be the guy around here. And then they hired Jim Herd, and Jim's like, nah, F you.
Why wouldn't you? Okay, first of all, he didn't and I'm not like an expert on this, but I heard he knew nothing about wrestling ever. So
yeah, you don't say.
Why wouldn't you ask somebody, hey, who's this Ric Flair guy? Do I want him on my staff? Do I want him to be the guy?
Well, plus, he works for Turner. Turner likes Flair. Where was the disconnect?
Well, according to Bischoff, Turner loved Flair. Yeah.
So where was the disconnect here? Like, what was going on where Ted, I know Ted didn't stick his nose in a lot, but did he not pay attention? Like, did Rick not? If I was Rick, I would have went straight to Ted and was like, hey, this guy's an effing moron. He's trying to bury me. Can, you do something about it? Because otherwise I'm leaving. Which, he did. But speaking of that title, the NWA announced that they were still recognizing Flair as the World Heavyweight Champion, even though they don't promote wrestling shows anymore. The legal team for the NWA noted that WCW can recognize whoever they want as champion, but they have no right to strip Flair of the NWA title. So, this means that Flair can legally work Japan and indie shows as the NWA champion, and since the belt is the NWA's belt, he no longer has...
championship, sorry.
Wow. He no longer has to return it to WCW. Further, since the NWA laws say that members can't recognize anyone but the NWA champion as world champion, this means that WCW will be expelled once they crown a new WCW world champion at the Bash.
Wow.
So, lots to unpack there.
So what was the big deal about appearing on WWTV then, if they're going to expel him from it?
Yeah, well, I assume, because I always thought it was WCW that sent a cease and desist. Was it NWA that sent a cease and desist?
I've never heard a clear word on that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume.
All I know is I've always heard cease and desist, but I've never heard who. So
right, because didn't he his last appearance as the quote unquote real world champion? Didn't he have an old tag belt?
Yeah, it was at the Survivor Series, I want to say.
Yeah, that was freaking weird.
Like, when we hear the stories of it, people don't realize that didn't go on too long. We're talking maybe a month.
Yeah.
I feel like history makes it out to be like, oh, we had that title on TV for like a year. It was like a month at most.
Well, what was funny is Uncle Dave pointed out, when WWE sued WCW over the Nash and Hall thing in '96, he was like, the legal arguments they're using right now are the reverse of the legal arguments they used as to why they should be allowed to have Flair running around as the NWA champion. It's like, yeah, it's kind of funny. But, yeah, so he was still technically the NWA champion until he popped up in WWE, apparently, and NWA is like,
wild to
whoa.
think that he was the NWA champion on WWE TV.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's, I don't know how we look at it. It's just like crazy though.
And then he didn't disrespect that title at all. He actually, if anything, he like built it up more.
I'm completely of the mind he knew he was going back at some point.
Oh yeah, probably. I think he was waiting for her to be gone. But
I think he knew that was going to happen quickly.
Right. Yeah, and that title didn't get trashed until Shane Douglas in ECW. Who, by the way, blames Ric Flair for everything wrong that ever happened in his career.
Yep.
Irony. But carrying on with this, on July 8th, WCW offered Ric Flair a one-year deal for $750,000, largely because the TBS legal department stepped in when it was realized that Flair was fired without any just cause. Go figure.
Talking about, he didn't want to shave his head and call himself Spartacus. That's good cause.
Yeah. Well, not to mention that Flair was working with a valid contract, with a valid contract that the company was attempting to replace with one for half as much money. However, since there was no guarantee given on how he'd be used, Flair turned it down. Wow. So, first, Hurd steps in and was like, hey, that contract that we had you sign and we said we'd honor? Yeah, well, we're not going to honor it. And then he turns around and says, no, you know what? Never mind. You're fired. Why am I fired? Because I said so. Get out.
Fire me. I'm already fired.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. And then Turner Legal had to step in and was like, oh, man, here's another contract. We're sorry. We're sorry.
Here's a few extra bucks.
If anybody goes back to that, I'm thinking of that South Park episode after that big oil spill on the Exxon CEO's like, we're sorry. And he keeps popping up in different areas like, we're sorry. Like, what the hell?
Well, that makes it all better.
Yeah, right. And Flair's like, nope. And to wrap this one up, apparently fans aren't taking this Flair news very well, loudly chanting, we want Flair at live events, and something that might get embarrassing for them. Yeah, this became a thing in WCW for quite a while.
Yeah, and everyone thinks the CM Punk chants are original. Just please. Yeah,
right. I will say this, I think they sustained that crap for longer, but, can you imagine if Twitter was a thing in 91? Oh, gosh.
I've thought about that for many, many time periods in wrestling, dude.
I know. This one,
horrible. The way Hogan lost the title to Andre, people would have rioted about that.
Yeah, right. Well, can you imagine if, like, during the twin referee angle, like what you were just talking about, where, they're like, well, actually, he has a twin brother that nobody ever mentioned. He used to work for WCW. Like, shut up, nerd.
What the hell?
Hold on, I'm thinking about the guy in his mom's basement, worst angle ever. They already did it in Mexico, and it was better.
What the hell?
You can't tell me that wouldn't be a thing.
I'm not saying that. I'm just, wow.
I'm spot on with it. But alright, now to steroids as the national shaming of wrestling continues, with pieces that are pretty devastating to Hulk Hogan in particular. Even worse, Lyle Alzado coming out as dying from steroids is turning into a nightmare for the WWF, with the angle becoming that Alzado actually glorifies their use, even as they kill him.
Who's that again?
Lyle Alzado? I want to say he was a football player.
Yes, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I was going to ask you. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you. It's like, wasn't he a football player? Like, and I think he turned actor at one point. He was a Raider. How do you not?
I don't know a lot of those old ones like that. Can you tell me Cleveland Brown from the 70s right now off the top of your head?
Brian Sipe.
Who the hell's that?
The quarterback from Red Right 88. I don't want to talk about it.
I believe that was the 80s, though. I'm sure.
Was it?
70s. I'm pretty sure it was the 80s, yeah.
Man, I don't know.
It's too early in the morning. I don't know.
Yeah, Red Right 88, that 1980 playoffs. Okay, so, he did play in the 70s, so I was kind of right. Either way, getting back to this. Yeah, so, steroids here, man. The message coming from his life is that he would have been too small to play football and succeed, and the steroids were a necessary part of the game for him. The same message appears to cover over to the wrestling world. Oh, man. I don't know much about, obviously you and I don't know much about Lyle Alzado, so he can't comment on that part of it, but
I can picture his face now.
He's a big burly dude, I'll say that. Yeah. So he was a defensive end, so he looks like every defensive end you've ever seen in your entire life. So, speaking of Hulk Hogan, he's expected to appear on the Arsenio Hall show this week and smooth things over with a public apology. I can't possibly see how that could go wrong. Arsenio Hall, the guy from Coming to America.
Yep.
Is that what most people would remember him from that I can throw out there?
That's all I can remember him doing other than his show, so yeah.
Yeah, I know he did other things. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. That was it. And Arsenio Hall was like the cool talk show back in the 90s. Like,
yeah, everybody went on Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, they all barked like Cleveland fans. I think it started. I want to say he was a Cleveland fan. That's why that started. But I could be wrong. But I think I heard that somewhere. Either way, yeah. It's, people that don't know what we're talking about, what we're getting at here, is on the show. He was like, "Oh, I never did steroids. No, not me." And then it came out later. It's like, yeah, you did. And like, it's you can't argue that you did. Like, there's evidence. And he's like, "Oh, well, my bad, brother."
I think he said the word basically like 27 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I never did see the whole interview. I just saw that little clip where he's like, "No, I never did steroids." And it's like, okay. And by the way, I know that there was a stigma around them, but when Hogan did steroids, we got to put in context, they were legal.
Yeah, clearly he didn't abuse them like everyone else, because unfortunately everyone else at this time is dead. And I hate saying that, but it's true.
But hey, who's our favorite reporter, Greg? Besides obviously Uncle Dave. We got to talk about him. No, even more favorite than him. He's in the top 3 though.
John Stossel?
Bill Mushnick. Oh. This guy.
Oh, man. That asshole. He may be worse than Uncle Dave, actually.
Maybe. Yeah, this guy, he's not even like, at least Uncle Dave occasionally hits a fact. Like, he spray shot and hits a fact every now and then. Also, keep in mind,
like him or not, Meltzer watches the product at least too. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, Phil Mushnick might see a clip here and there and be like, and he'll just whole cloth make up a story. Just with complete fabrication of everything. But either way, Phil Mushnick launched a scathing piece in the New York Times against the WWF, where he basically called out the media for buying into the Vince McMahon propaganda about the wrestling resurgence, which in reality didn't exist at this time. He then offered even more scathing criticism of former WWF hangers-on like Dick Ebersol, who were more than happy to play into the Vince line of BS when it made him money, but then ran away from serious coverage of wrestling when the Dr. Zahorian story broke. I mean, I don't think that was why. I think it was a little coincidental, maybe around the same time frame, but I don't think he was like, steroids, we're done. I mean, I could be wrong.
The article says otherwise, so I believe it.
Yeah, well,
you can't just print something.
Yeah, you can never put fake news out there, Greg, especially back then. It just didn't happen. Oh, gosh. Phil Mushnick is a piece of garbage. For people that don't know, the entire thing about the steroid story, Dr. Zahorian, I know I threw that name out there. He was the guy that didn't he get charged for passing out steroids?
Maybe?
I think he got charged. He was a dirty doctor that worked for the WWF, and he was giving steroids out. So, and I think all that's been proven in court, so I can say that legally without getting in trouble. So, either way, getting into something else about the WWF here. Primetime Wrestling is getting overhauled again, with Sean Mooney and Bobby Heenan taking over as full-time hosts for the next revamp. Do you remember this?
I remember it happening, yes.
I mean, I knew that Sean Mooney was a big part of it because, I mean, wasn't his podcast called the Primetime Podcast or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I knew that was a thing for him. Obviously, I was way too young during this time to remember any of this, and I since haven't gone back to watch it.
Yeah, one of the things I remember them doing is, like, they went from, like, sitting at a desk, and then they were all, like, in front of, like, a little studio audience.
Ah.
Yeah, just as far as the overhaul goes, that's what I think. That's what I remember. So
here we go, man. Here's kind of a sign of the times. A show for the WWF at BC Plaza in Vancouver, which is a 60,000-seat dome with Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter on the card, only drew 5,500 people. Damn. Wow. I'd heard that this angle just did not get over.
Well,
I don't, for whatever reason.
There's
I
that.
Don't know. Yeah. Well, back to WCW. Jim Ross continues his campaign against the WWF cage matches on WCW Pro, using the line, quote, the cage match is sanctioned by the Girl Scouts of America. That's effed up. I don't think they like that damn blue bar cage. That ain't Southern wrestling.
I miss that one.
I do too. I think we're in the minority of people who like that cage. But this one breaks my heart. Oz did not sign the dreaded $300 a night contract and is thought to be on the chopping block as a result.
Oh, well, I don't think he gets chopped. I think he lies and leaves, doesn't he?
No, this is the one where I don't know, when did he become Vinny Vegas? Or is there a gimmick between? Because this is the last show for Oz, but not the last show for Kevin Nash.
Vinny Vegas is next, actually.
Okay. I don't think he was Vegas for long, was he?
No, that's when he lies to Ole and says he's getting out of the business, and then
right. Yeah,
and he shows up on Raw like a couple days later.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he pops up in WWE in '93. So
right before King of the Ring.
Right. Yeah, King of the Ring is actually where he gets his name for the first time. So
now in the archives.
Right. Yes. Last week. I threw this one in here just because it's a hilarious story. GWF recently replaced the USWA on ESPN. In the promotion, Tug Taylor is being billed as, quote, the original tugboat. And Uncle Dave asks, why would you ever want to brag about that?
Okay, first of all, before we go, I got to know, which UWA was this?
USWA, this was the Memphis territory. So I don't know what GWF was. Not familiar with that. And I've never heard of Tug.
This is 1991 we're in?
Yeah.
So Tugboat's still a thing.
Right. But Tug Taylor is the original.
He's about to become Typhoon soon. But yeah, right. He's the original, because that great gimmick was ripped from him.
I know. I had to put that in there because Dave openly says, why would you ever want to brag about that? Like, you're right. Got to give him his due once in a while.
Oh my God.
It's not quite on that kind of scale, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. All the people, like if somebody fought over who the original Doink was. Although
actually, that one actually got over because but I don't know if that works here because that was a thing.
I'm just trying to think of a horrible like Hector Guerrero like coming out and admitting it's like, oh yeah, I was the I was a gobbledygooker. Like, dude, you were in a mask. You could deny it.
He danced with Mean Gene on Thanksgiving, dude. That's bragging rights, dude.
And he said, gobbledygooker.
He didn't even say it, by the way, if you remember it. Mean Gene just like, you're the gobbledygooker. He never said
he's like, don't tell me. Are you the gobbledygooker? Like, oh gosh, why would you know this?
I like it. Richard's like, man, just God bless his heart, man. Gene tried.
You got to be thinking he was sitting there like, what did I do in my life to deserve this? Like, I go from training with Hulk Hogan to, are you the gobbledygooker? Either way, that is the news and notes. You ready to get into the bash?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break.
It's not that bad. I'm kidding, guys.
Yeah, it really isn't. But we're going to take a quick break. Before we do, real quick, subscribe to the podcast if you were listening on the podcast feed, and leave a 5-star review, just like good old Uncle Dave on a Ric Flair match. When we come back...
And if you're listening to Japan, you can do 7.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I mean, and if you can't yet, Uncle Dave is currently lobbying Apple to make that a thing on Apple Podcasts. So, a special feature for Japanese listeners only. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Great American Bash 1991. Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan.
Alan.
Oh, yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
We shared a room.
Shared a room.
We shared a room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast.
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The
Broadcast.
Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah. Well.
What do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAS. There. Nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's alright, good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C, we spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show. All right, we are back. It is time to dive into WCW Great American Bash 1991. The date. And we can actually call it WCW and not argue about NWA at this point because, like I said earlier, once they introduce their own titles, they're kicked out of the NWA. So, there we go.
Out for them.
Yeah, and well, I don't know, Greg, because where are they now? And the NWA is still around.
They're currently on Peacock, so there you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And and the NWA is still running shows, so who got the better end of that deal, Greg?
Sure.
Anyway, the date was July 14th, 1991. We're covering these, by the way. We usually cover them in the month that they're in, but we're doing the bashes this month because next month we're going to talk more about like Bash of the Beach and stuff like that. So I didn't just want to have a full month of WCW. But the tagline is Legend versus Legacy. This took place at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland.
Because where the hell else would it?
Yeah. Well, this was like the go-to for them. They always held the Bash, the Great American Bash, right here, Baltimore, Maryland.
That was the thing with them. Like, Halloween Havoc was always in Vegas, and I feel like Starrcade was in Washington like 27 times.
I think Bischoff said he liked to have like consistent venues, so it was like, oh, this time of year we're going to be here. So, all those people knew it's like, oh, the show is coming to town and this time. You know what I mean?
It's kind of brilliant.
I mean, I get his logic. And the reason it's in Baltimore, by the way, is Baltimore is literally like right down the road from Washington, D.C. But the attendance was 9,320. Pay-per-view buy rate was 1.0 for 145,000 buys. So, not terrible. Pretty decent, actually. But we start the show with a cameraman walking through a clapping, cheering crowd outside of the building. He walks in, he buys 2 tickets, maybe one for him and one for the camera.
Yeah, I like this, by the way. I thought it was kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, you didn't see a whole lot of the stuff, like the roaming camera where the guy, your like first-person view going into the building. That was kind of cool. The only thing I laughed about was he was like, 2 tickets, please. And I'm like, aren't you alone?
Well, I mean, I could have somebody waiting in the wings.
Yeah. But then he walks into the main arena with a loud, cheering crowd. I don't know.
Yeah, the cameraman's here. That was my first thought, by the way.
Right. We can start the show. Yay! Because we can only afford the one camera, Greg. So and
right.
He's late.
Anybody watch AEW from, let's say, at the time of this recording, a couple weeks ago, which was actually last night. There was an incident with, you only got one camera. Everybody watches it and sees the Dustin Rhodes, Nick Comoroto match, which was the SD main event. There's a segment like that. It was like the camera misses a bunch of stuff going on because apparently they only have one camera at ring. I don't understand the logic, but it applies there. I had a flashback of that when I watched it. I saw that last night. But yeah. maybe what
Tony
the hell happened?
Maybe Tony Khan can quit buying music and, buy an extra camera.
Yeah, right.
Or use
TNT,
some of that TNT money.
Pretty sure they have good cameras. I'm pretty sure.
I will say
they have
this.
NBA on there, so.
Oh yeah. Well, according to Tony Schiavone, for being a television company, at least when WCW was on there, he said they still had to pay for their own damn production. Like TNT was very crappy about it.
Well.
So, but either way, So I don't know if this was a packed out house, but it sure as hell looked like it, and they were loud. That's cool. But speaking of Tony Schiavone, the commentary team for tonight is Jim Ross and a blonde Tony Schiavone. That looks, I don't know about you, man, but that looks like if I see an owl in the middle of the day, it's just like what's going on here?
Yeah, I had a flashback to when he debuted in TNA. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, where
the
he had
Hawaiian shirt
goatee
on, with a Kiss shirt on, goatee and blonde spiked hair.
He looked like he just came off a bender.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, that was great. You got Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. I said add in a masked Mark and you've got yourself AEW Dynamite.
Oh man.
Come on, I had to. That's our second AEW reference of the podcast, by the way. But this first match, man, yes, we're starting the show off with this. It's the Rap Master, PN
News, baby.
And beautiful Bobby Eaton. That's a hell of a combo. Taking on the computerized man of the 90s, Terrence Taylor.
That's terrific, Terrence Taylor.
Oh, good Lord. Not yet. Almost.
I know, but I wanted to say it.
Yeah, good Lord. And his tag team partner, Stunning Steve Austin with Lady Blossom, who Eric Bischoff said his favorite thing about her was that she was always blossoming out of her top. No wonder that was Steve Austin's first ex-wife.
And just remind me, what was Terrence Taylor doing before WCW? Do you remember? I forget.
Was this 91? Had he started crowing yet?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What was his name again? I just like saying it. I like hearing it.
The Red Effing Ass Rooster.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But this was the Skywalkers 2 Scaffold Match. It went just over 6 minutes, just under 6 minutes, or 6.5 minutes. Because if you're going to have a sequel to the Skywalkers, man, I mean, PN News.
Oh, Lord knows they had to bring it up extra. But, my first thing was, how did they get away with using this name?
What, Skywalkers?
Yeah.
Sure, they did for years. I don't know. I assume Skywalkers trademark. But I don't know, man, because they always used to put on shows like Dallas. The Dallas territory was big for this. They always used to put on the Wrestling Star Wars. So, and
maybe copyrights and stuff just weren't hard to get around back then.
Yeah, it was. I mean, copyright was weird way back when.
If they tried that today, Disney would hit them with the freaking guillotine.
Before they even put out their first flyer, Disney would be bending them over a table. No Vaseline.
No spit.
Yeah, right. Could I at least get the spit? No, you don't get the spit. Huh?
Oh, man. What the hell?
First off, scaffold matches suck. I'm just gonna say
That's Jim Cornette.
They suck. Who saw this and thought we should do more?
Well, let's not forget, Vince Russo brought it back in WCW too. So.
Wait, he brought it back in WCW?
Yeah, it was Billy Kidman and somebody against Shane Douglas and Torrie Wilson.
Oh hell.
We're gonna have to review that. I think it might have been a Slamboree or something like that. So it's coming up.
Yay.
Actually, Slamboree month already passed. I don't know what month when it was, but they did it.
I remember he had a version of it TNA, the Elevation X.
That wasn't so bad.
That one didn't suck, but it wasn't great. That was the best of a crap match type.
I'm like, it's got Rhino in it. That's weird, but AJ could do something, so.
Yeah. Well, anyway, to win this one, you can either chuck your opponent off the scaffold, which, death! Woohoo! Or.
Bro, someone's gonna die, bro.
Yeah, PN News is gonna get his big ass thrown off the scaffold. He's gone forever, bro. But you can either throw somebody off the scaffold or you can capture the flag from your opponent's side.
Why the hell wouldn't you throw him? I mean, a flag, that's not going to sell any tickets.
I know, right? But PN News stands at the edge and does absolutely. Shivani excuses this as News, quote, protecting his flag. Sure.
I'm trying to remember if when I was a kid I liked PN News. I don't remember. He seems like somebody I would have liked because he was a babyface, but looking at him like, why the hell was this guy a wrestler?
Yeah, he sucked so bad. He was awful. I'll say this, nobody has a story about him saying he was a bad dude, but everybody has a story about him saying, man, he sucked and he should have never been there.
Didn't they all say the same thing about Giant Gonzalez?
Yeah. Oh, he was a great guy, but god dang, he should have never been in the ring. But you're getting ahead of me.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately. Finally, PN News does something, but it's not much. They kill the crowd in the first match here. Eaton finally grabs the heel's flag and has to pretend that he's a complete moron, not able to just easily walk his ass back to his side. Lady Blossom hands Steve Austin some hairspray, which he sprays in the eyes of Bobby and PN News both. Randomly, with no bell, they just announce that Eaton and News have won. WTF. Uncle Dave... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just sighing. It was like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's all you can really say. Uncle Dave says, quote, suffice it to say, this was one of the worst matches in history. What does it say when the booker takes 3 of the best workers and sticks them in a match where they can do nothing at all? Yeah. He also said that it was completely stupid that they added the capture the flag aspect to this. And it's like, it is stupid, but who the hell's going to take that bump?
Jim Cornette?
Yeah, right. I like his line where he said, because Big Bubba was supposed to catch him, but he missed. And he said, oh, he lost me in the lights.
Like the freaking baseball, like the sun or something.
Yeah, right. But Uncle Dave gave this -3.5 stars. I gave it -2 stars. And it takes a lot for me to give something negative stars, but the 6.5 minutes felt like an eternity. What say you?
I didn't even want to rate it. I got away with giving 0 stars because I never heard a bell.
Yeah, I mean, it was a match. Unfortunately,
I don't like saying 0, but I'm going to because, like I said, I never heard a bell.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't like giving negative stars. I at least, usually give a dud, but this has earned all that negative. But getting into, after this here, something that's messed up with the audio because Shivani's trying to commentate on the end, but he's very faint. I don't know if you caught that.
I did, yeah.
I'm like, what the hell happened? Finally, the baby faces beat up the heels in the actual ring, and the heels take a powder to the back. Oh my gosh. But Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone play up the main event, saying that WCW made another offer to Ric Flair, but it was turned down. We now go to Eric Bischoff on the ramp, standing with Paul E. Dangerously and Arn Anderson. The crowd is chanting, Paul E. sucks, the whole time. I'm assuming that Paul broke all of his cell phones because it looks like at this point he's just carrying around the receiver to a cordless landline.
Yep.
So I was like, I don't think that's a cell phone, dude.
It's like quite a brick, I noticed.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, were you like, crap, I forgot my cell phone. Here's a cordless phone. Good enough. These stupid southern rubes won't know the difference.
Either way, it's going to be broken over someone's head. Don't worry about it.
That is true. Paul runs down Missy Hyatt and says that he would fear Rick Steiner if he didn't have Arn Anderson by his side. Anderson says tonight they'll be locked up tonight in a cage, and it will be for aggravated assault. He mentions that Scott Steiner's arm is broke, and if Missy Hyatt gets involved, he'll, quote, make a real woman out of her.
Yeah, that was said. I couldn't figure out, by the way, if he meant he was going to do something sexual or hurt her.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I don't like. How did you mean that? Because the way I'm thinking is like, I mean, any way is bad, but the way I'm thinking is very bad. When we go back to Ross and Shivani for like 5 minutes, it's obvious that they're taking forever to tear down that stupid scaffolding.
Yeah.
So that's
I didn't
what
catch
happens.
that till you just said that, actually. Yep.
Yeah, because they stalled forever.
Well, here's my reason why I didn't catch it either. Like, a lot of WWE back in the day had like 27 interviews in the back too during events, so that's probably why I passed it off.
Can you imagine they're just sitting in the back in Ross's ear? They're like, kill time, more time. You still need to kill time. They're still working on it. But before
I was wondering, by the way, going back real quick to what I said about the Russo thing when he brought it back, I believe they had it in another part of the arena. So, yeah.
Wow. They didn't put another ring up by the entryway like they did with the triple cage?
I don't think so. I think it was just, I don't remember what was under it, honestly, but.
Yeah. It's kind of like when they had that Lion's Den match with it at WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania, right? Or SummerSlam?
SummerSlam, yeah.
SummerSlam.
98.
Now in the archive, SummerSlam.
Reviewed that, yeah.
Yeah. It was in the theater of the Madison Square Garden. But anyway, before the next match starts, Diamond Dallas Page and the Diamond Stud pull a random hot chick out of the crowd, or so they say, until you see her accompanying other people to the ring later in the night. So they kind of ruin the illusion. But they get this woman to rip the Stud's overalls off of him. Not to be outdone, the Z-Man comes out with 3 hot chicks in bikini tops. So there's that.
F and Z-Man.
Oh, F yeah, man. But we now get the Diamond Stud with Diamond Dallas Page versus the Z-Man in 9 minutes exactly. Just a random, like, it's not a big sticking point. It's like, who cares? But something I noticed on his Chiron and everything, they spelled stud with 2 D's. But on the back of his trunks, it's 1 D.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because I was like, well, who's right? Because
I
WCW
think it was 2 D's, so.
Okay. Because I do not trust WCW Chirons. Ever. I'm
also going to say I think the seamstress messed up.
Yeah. It looked like it was bedazzled by a 5-year-old. Did you notice that?
I just thought it was supposed to look like that.
It looked like crap. I'm like, this is a professional like, whatever.
He's 1 year away from being a huge star. It's fine.
Right. And he's 1 year away from impersonating Tony Montana. But from the ramp, the Z-Man leaps over the top rope to clothesline Diamond Stud and DDP both. In the end, DDP gets into the ring and gets a big boot from the Z-Man. He tries to go over the top, but he messes it up and just flops out of the ring instead. He didn't get that good jump to get over the top rope. The Stud then hits a bridging back suplex on Z-Man for a 3 count. It's an odd finish, but whatever. Uncle Dave gave it 1 3/4 stars. I can't imagine what shaved off a quarter, but I gave it 2. What say you?
I gave it 1, dude. I hated this.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't think it was terrible, but
yeah, when I start getting to the point, I'm like, why is this match happening? Yeah, there's a problem.
I said that about a lot of the matches on this card, to be honest with you, but yeah, I don't know. The F and Z man, who
I didn't say what I go ahead. I didn't say about the scaffold match because it wasn't a match, to be fair. So. Yeah.
By the standard definition of a match, it technically was, but I get your point. I don't know. This was something. But Tony Schiavone thinks that, and you can't really deny it, that Tom Zink was a very pretty man. So there's that. Now you know why they kept him on.
So.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if only he had that intangible it factor and maybe a better name.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. The Z-Man kind of worked.
It was okay, but it's like Tom Zink.
It did scream 80s, I'll say that, but.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, from Diamond Stud to this. For Oz in the next match, they set up that stupid-ass castle on the stage again, because if you're going to spring for money on something, it's got to be this. The arena fills with smoke as the lights turn green, pyro blows, and electric guitar music plays, and Oz walks to the ring in his cape, old man mask, and a giant wizard hat.
Wait, there's more.
He's also got the wizard with him, which is Kevin Sullivan in a mask and wizard outfit. They didn't have the monkey in a diaper on this one.
I loved that they used. God, I'm gonna get some trouble for this. The really small man. It's like, oh, we need a wizard. Who's the smallest dude? Let's get Kevin Sullivan, dude.
Yeah. Hey, Sullivan, you're like half his size. Come on.
There was no Hornswoggle back then, so.
Right. Hey, look, that monkey's got a Sullivan on his ass. I had to get it in.
I like that.
Yeah. It's Oz with the wizard taking on the All-American Ron Simmons when just shy of 8 minutes. I felt like this one could have went longer, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, it was over when I was into it.
Yeah, right? Just when it started getting good. But how did Ron Simmons pull the short straw for this one, man? Hot damn.
Because he's about to be world champion, so you do whatever you're told. Just like Bobby Lashley with that stupid affair crap. Look what it paid off to, so he's fine. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. It was horrible. You could have heard a mouse pissing on cotton during this one, man. Nobody gave a damn. In the end, Ron Simmons hits 3 shoulder tackles on Oz's legs. And then the wizard gets on the apron, Simmons punches him off, and then he hits a flying shoulder tackle on Oz for the win. Uncle Dave says, quote, "This is the end for Oz, although Kevin Nash will probably be kept around with a new character." Well, wouldn't you know who won the pony? But anyway, I just like that you said, in a freaking wrestling match review, you actually said the words, "The wizard gets on the apron." Yep. Oh, man. And this was not the end of Sullivan for the night, unfortunately. But Uncle Dave gave this a dud. I gave it 1 star. What say you? I gave it a star. I will say this, okay, and I'll argue this. I thought that Oz's entrance is awesome. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a spectacle. So, if nothing else, that was cool. And then that damn bell had to ring. Thank God Kevin Nash improved, man. I mean, you can say whatever you want about his lack of ability later on, but he was a million times better than this. But after the match, we get to see the alleged WCW Top 10. They include number 10, Johnny B. Bad, number 9, Ron Simmons, number 8, Diamond Stud, 7 is El Gigante, 6, Arn Anderson, 5, Bobby Eaton, 4, Steve Austin, 3, Sting, 2, Barry Windham, and 1, Lex Luger. These rankings meant nothing. Nope. I think. Remember when SmackDown tried to do it for a minute? Yeah, for what? 2 weeks, I think. I don't know if it was. I don't even know if it was that. Yeah, it was not long. Every company that's ever tried to do a top, even shoot companies like the UFC, anytime they try to do a ranking system, it's meaningless. UFC's got a little better about it. Yeah, but you and I would always talk about it. It's like, why is the number 6 in the world fighting for the title? Like, because everybody's hurt. Because he's better than number 7. I don't know. Yeah, right. Up until now, they've done literally everything they can to kill this hot crowd, and I don't know that this next match is going to make it much better, but it's Robert Gibson taking on Richard Morton with Alexandra York in his corner. This went about 17 minutes. I want to say real quick that this was a really, I take this for what it's worth, or take this however you want it, a really anticipated match, because it was put off for a long time. Yeah. Okay, it's finally happening. Yeah, but I'm not going to say it's going to hinder my review. I'm just saying they waited forever. Yeah. Well, Gibson jumps Morton on the ramp to jumpstart this. I feel like Morton should have changed his look up a bit for this gimmick when he joined the York Foundation. So my first note is, let's talk about his hair. Let's talk about everything. Like the hair, the tights. I mean, he's still wearing he still looks like he's one half of the Rock and Roll Express. Like, he doesn't say rock and roll though. Oh, well, At least that's changed. And he's not Ricky Morton anymore. He's Richard Morton. So, that's a big change, man. Oh, God. But, yeah, this... Morton rips Gibson's tights to reveal that he has a brace on his formerly injured right knee. In the end, Alexandra York distracts the referee as Richard Morton comes off the top rope to smack Robert Gibson in the back with York's laptop for the win. Some in the crowd throw garbage into the ring. I can't imagine giving this much of a damn about this match. I just wasn't into this feud. I didn't buy it, and I think the WCW audience was kind of with me on this one for the most part.
Well, there's a reason they go back to being Rock and Roll Express like in 5 minutes.
I feel like this was better on paper than it was in execution. Yeah. I mean, do you feel that way?
I do.
Yeah. So anyway, Uncle Dave.
I mean, I know the story has been told in wrestling many, many times over the past decades. Partners fighting, now all of a sudden they're enemies. It didn't work here. Yeah. And I like the Rock and Roll Express, but they're never going to be singles wrestlers. I'm sorry.
No. They were a great tag team, historic tag team, but yeah.
Like teams right now, like the Bucks or the Usos or just they're never going to be single stars, and that's not a bad thing.
The Street Profits.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I don't know. I think Ford could be, but
yeah, I think Ford's great, but yeah. And what's the other Angelo Dawkins? I mean, he tried doing single stuff before they paired him up with Ford, and it just nobody cared. It was like, oh yeah, he's the dude with the two headbands that comes out stirring the air. Like, all right, cool. But Uncle Dave says technically not bad, but there was no heat, and it seemed to drag on as a result. It definitely freaking did. I was watching the time. Yeah. Excuse me, sorry. Uncle Dave gave it 1.5 stars. I gave it 2.5 stars because I thought it was at least average. What say you?
I gave it 2. It was okay.
Yeah, that's the most glowing praise we can give. It was average and it was okay. But all right. In the back, Eric Bischoff is standing by with Dustin Rhodes and the Young Pistols of Tracy and Steve. Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong, by the way. Tracy says that they're coming for a fight. Steve says that after the Freebirds are gone, they're going to take out Big Daddy Dink.
Real name.
Which is Sir Oliver Humperdinck, for all of you that don't know. He was dressed as a biker because, whatever. And then Dustin Rhodes does a weird impression of his dad. Did you catch that?
No, did he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't doing it in a comedic way. He was acting like this is how he talked. And he said this is the greatest night of his career because he's doing the lisp and everything. He's like, Dustin Rhodes here is the greatest night of my career, baby. And I'm like, you don't talk that way. Like, what the hell?
Maybe I was just blanking.
Yeah, now that I said that, go back and listen. He's doing the lisp. He's trying to do his dad's cadence. He's trying to be Dusty Rhodes Jr. So, I mean, whatever. But we're going to be talking more about him next week, by the way, on King of the Ring 96. But stay tuned. This next match is a 6-man elimination tag team match between the Fabulous Freebirds of Michael P.S. Hayes, Jimmy Jam Garvin, and Bad Street. In their corner, they have Big Daddy Dink. They're taking on Dustin Rhodes and the Young Pistols of Steve and Tracy. This one went 17 minutes. Just hot damn. I've said this before. I don't give a damn about this version of the Freebirds.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, Jimmy Jam Garvin is not Joey Janela, so.
It might be his father, though, illegitimate or otherwise. But the Freebirds are carrying the NWA United States Tag Team titles and what I assume are the WCW 6-man tag belts. I don't know. Maybe they said it on commentary and I missed it. But Bad Street looks completely stupid. Are you with me on that one?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, he looks like an idiot. But he was previously named Fantasia, which, by the way, is still written on the back of the Freebirds tights. I don't know if you caught that. But no, they were threatened.
Man, I must have been. I feel like I was watching. I must have been falling asleep watching. I don't know. Well, that's not a good sign. But
well, I don't blame you with this one.
I can't Ring 96. Let's jump ahead. That one had my attention the whole way through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But either way, they were threatened with legal action by Disney for obvious reasons.
What did we just say, by the way?
Yeah. Man, even back in 91, Disney was getting ready to bend them over. But this match would get going and then stall for another 3 to 4 minutes to the point of killing any and all excitement. Steve tries to unmask Bad Street, but Hayes stops him, leading to a double DDT, eliminating him via pinfall. Bad Street, by the way, is Brad Armstrong, for anybody that doesn't know.
A.K.A. B.A. A.K.A. What was that hippie gimmick he did?
Buzzkill.
Buzzkill, yeah.
He was also Arachnaman. He was the goddamn Candyman. Yes, he literally had a gimmick where he was named the Candyman, and he would come to the ring passing out candy to children. Because that's not weird.
And he wasn't even missing a puppy, so what the hell?
Yeah, right. He's just like, hey, little kids, you want some candy? Nobody, Jim Herd never once sat and thought, maybe this is creepy. Nope, they'll love it.
I wanted to see him in 7 as a team so bad. Oh, man.
Oh, right. I know. And at that point, they were using vehicles. He could have drove a panel van to the ring.
We're getting a letter.
He's like, I got a grave. He's like, I got a hole in my backyard. It's just your size. And he went, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. I didn't touch that one.
Hayes instantly back body drops Tracy over the top rope, leading to him being disqualified because that was a thing. The referee gets distracted, missing a tag to Dustin, leading to Tracy getting double DDT'd for the elimination. Next, Dustin hits a running lariat on Jimmy Garvin and pins him, leading to Dustin versus Bad Street as the final 2, because, that's who I would have called. Finally, Dustin hits a running bulldog on Bad Street, doing a running kick to Dink in the process. I actually thought that was kind of cool.
Not the Dink.
Yeah, no, not the clown Dink. This was the big fat guy Dink. Anyway, this leads to the final pinfall elimination and the win for Dustin. Uncle Dave gave it a 1.25 stars. I gave it 2.5. I thought it was average and interesting. What say you?
I'll give it 2. I don't know why I was no, I'm going to give it 1. I fell asleep during it, if I'm being real with you. I dozed off.
Yeah, 17 minutes.
I want to give it 2 because I like Michael Hayes.
Long. Yeah. Well, this was way too effing long for this, I'll say. And I think the reason they had to come down...
We can say this about the last 2 matches now, too, by the way.
I know.
Way too much time.
Yes. And never, ever, ever give Michael Hayes that much damn time. Excuse me, Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin. Just never.
I mean, at least if you're going to give them that much time, at least let a good third of it be their singing and their entrance. I mean, if you tally it all up.
Yeah, right. Not in-ring stuff. But looking back on it now, I think the reason they had it come down to Bad Street and Dustin was because they were the 2 best workers in the entire match. So
I'm not arguing Dustin was the best one in this whole card, but...
Yeah, he's up there, I'll say that.
Funny, I think I said that about him last night on Dynamite, too.
Right. Yeah, it's weird,
50 years
right?
later, man.
Yeah.
And I think I say this once a show, but it warrants it, man. That guy still looks good and can still go. Good grief.
Yeah, think about that. He was doing great stuff here. We're talking 30 years ago. 3 decades. He's still main eventing, major major shows for companies on TV.
And again, that's not a broken record, but he's still doing it at a high quality.
Yeah. No, not one person is like, man, he should retire. Yeah, so I don't know.
It's pretty sad when he's outworking a lot of these young guys.
Yeah, sad or awesome, one of the two. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it is awesome, but it's sad that, wow, you're telling me this 50-year-old man, he's probably over 50, right? You're telling me this 50-year-old man's better than guys who should be in their primes right now?
You're right, I know.
Sorry.
Yep. But this next match, man, was, speaking of weird, it was the Yellow Dog versus Johnny B. Bad with Theodore R. Long in his corner.
I just laughed at the marquee.
I know. This was billed as the Battle for the Mask. It went 6 minutes, and it dragged on forever.
I only dragged on for about 5.5 minutes for me. The finish got me.
Yeah. Well,
because it was the finish.
By the way, the yellow dog walked to the ring with a yellow dog.
Oh, if you're going to be the yellow dog, what the hell else are you going to walk to the ring with, TJ? God, idiot.
I know, yeah, right. Yeah, I wonder where you find yellow dogs, in the middle of a cart.
Yellow dogs are us, I believe.
Well, yeah, probably.
Does anybody know who the yellow dog was, by the way?
Oh, we'll get to it, because there's a note I have in here.
I just want to know if anyone knew beforehand. I sure as hell didn't. I mean, I was like 7 at this time. So.
Oh, yeah, well, if you're a kid, yeah. This was one of them things where the mask guy is, trying to hide his identity, but they're making it super obvious who it is as a joke, Yeah. So.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna just kind of like expose something here. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going ahead and do it. I forgot who it was in watching this back.
Oh, really?
I really did, yeah. Like, oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they did this. This was, a frequent gimmick of the territory days of like they had Jimmy Garvin came back, or not Jimmy Garvin. Shoot, Boogie Woogie Man. Can't think of his name. Jimmy Valiant. He came back with a mask. He was Charlie Brown from out of town. Dusty Rhodes with the Lone Rider, or whatever the hell. I can't remember the name. Midnight Rider. That was it.
Yeah, which he dug up and dusted off for TNA, I believe.
Really? I forgot about that. Wow. Yeah. JYD was I can't even remember the hell his name was, but yeah. So they did it quite a few times, and then they brought it back in WWE when Hulk Hogan came back as Mr. America. You remember that?
Do.
Yeah. I actually liked that. So, but either way, this is the wrestling debut for Johnny B. Bad, and by God, it looks like it. Jim Ross makes fun of a fan holding up a Johnny B. Bad sign saying, quote, "I hope his mom and dad don't see this." He said, you buy a ticket, you come to a show, and yeah, can you imagine just making a Johnny B. Bad sign? Well, anyway, I'm like, holy God, he's just burying the fans and Johnny. Like, damn, Jim. He was, as Conrad likes to call him, red-ass JR on this show. By the way, another thing, he blew the entire gimmick by calling the yellow dog Flying Brian right in the beginning of the match. And then he's like, oh, excuse me, he said he's the world's biggest Flying Brian fan, and then Tony tries to cover it up. He's like, well, and he comes out to Flying Brian's music, so it's easy to get it confused. I'm like, Jim just killed the whole damn gimmick.
Well, to be fair, I think he knew this was stupid.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, and the yellow dog, like, what the hell? Did they just have a yellow mask laying around and it's like, what the hell do we call you? But these two are seen visibly calling spots to each other multiple effing times. The match ends when Long hops into the ring and jumps on Yellow Dog's back, trying to rip his mask off. This causes the disqualification. These two would have a much better match 4 years later at Fall Brawl 95, which, by the way, is now in the archives. Go check it out.
I believe that was one of our favorite matches that night.
Oh, yeah. It tore the damn house down. I'm not even being sarcastic. Uncle Dave says, quote, a very long 6 minutes. You don't say. He gave it 3/4 of a star, which just seems mind-blowing. I gave it a 1.5 stars. What say you?
I gave it a star. Only because this thing was more about the mask or all that crap than it was anything else, so.
Yeah, and then you got Jim Ross blowing the gimmick. You got the match sucking. They're calling spots. It's like, it all is horrible. But after the match, Johnny clocks Yellow Dog with a right hand, sending him out of the ring. Yellow Dog gets right back in, however, leading to Johnny and Theodore taking off. Good grief. Well, I might want to hold in that good grief, because this next segment, man, this is something, we've mentioned before about it's like, man, that wouldn't fly in 2021. This. Well, let's get into it. In the back,
don't get ahead.
Eric Bischoff is outside of Missy Hyatt's locker room. He follows a woman into the locker room that reads aloud a card to her from Jason Hervey. Bischoff, by the way, makes sure to tell us that Hervey is nothing like the character he plays on the Wonder Years. Because,
they did that like all the time whenever we saw him.
Yeah, because I totally thought he was, he was that guy. I mean, What do you mean?
Wayne was an asshole.
Yeah, well,
You gotta say it, dude. I mean, what if like oh god, I'm blanking on his name. Negan. What's his name?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah. What if Jeffrey Dean Morgan showed up on Raw? Don't you think USA would want them to be like, hey, he doesn't really bash people's brains in with a bat wrapped in barbed wire?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, hey, that's just a character he plays on TV. He's really a good guy. It's like, what the, like. But anyway, yeah. So Bischoff goes through Missy's locker room calling for her. He finally realizes she's in the shower and says, I love this job. Somebody's got to do it, right? Because if somebody's in the shower, you got to bust in on him and get an interview right then and there, right?
Hell yeah.
That's proper protocol. So then he goes in, he pervs on the now brunette Missy Hyatt as she's showering up. Keeps looking at her and going like, oh, woof, man. Like, what the F is going on? So she finally turns around to see him in shock. She starts throwing bottles at him, calling him a peeping Tom as he runs out of the locker room.
What's the best word she could use?
Yeah. Like, what the F did we just see here? This was horrible. And again, I'm using that a little too early because up next, it is big.
Also, real quick, sorry. I've heard him talk about Missy multiple times. He did not like her.
No. And he laughed when she accused him of sexual harassment. And he was like, if I was going to sexually harass anybody, it sure as hell wouldn't be her. And I'm like, well, damn, dude. Then again, have you seen his wife?
Yeah. He's doing okay for himself.
But up next is Big Effin' Josh taking on Blackblood.
And who did we mention earlier in this spot? I forget. But there was someone we mentioned earlier.
Doink the Clown. Yep, there you go. Which I got a note on that. But yeah, Blackblood. Just one word. Because I spelled it out Black Blood. No. It's one word. He's being accompanied by Kevin Sullivan. It is a Lumberjack match, which is clearly Big Josh's specialty. This was just over 5.5 minutes.
He looks like he should be tagging with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Am I right?
Yep. Big Josh stepped it up, by the way, from Live Bears. This time, he has a bunch of beautiful women dressed like Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hillbillies accompanying him to the ring.
I'm going to leave that obvious joke alone.
Yeah. Anyway, I still don't understand, by the way, what runs through Vince McMahon's head where he saw this man and thought, evil clown.
I turned into a nice clown after a minute, though.
Yeah, but he saw him as like, I'm going to make him an evil clown, like Krusty from The Simpsons.
Because his last gimmick was a clown.
Yeah. Oh, man. Don't blame it on me. Blame it on the monkey. Second monkey reference we got in. Anyway, Blackblood, do you know who Blackblood was?
Off the top of my head.
Billy Jack Haynes.
Oh, really?
Yep. But he looks like an executioner, and he carries a giant axe to the ring.
Because if you're going to draw Black Blood, you need an axe.
Right. Dick Slater and...
Dirty Dick Slater.
Well, are they both Dirty Dick?
Yeah.
I thought only one of them... Okay, well, either way. The Dirty Dicks, Dick Slater and Dick Murdoch, are dressed like newsies at ringside for some reason. Either that or they're dressed like the guys who show up when you got, like, gambling debts. That's the only thing I can think of. But these two beat the tar out of each other, Blackblood and Big Josh, that is. The Lumberjacks end up fighting each other, causing a lot of mayhem. The crowd comes unglued right as Blackblood grabs his axe, but Dustin Rhodes clocks him in the knee with Big Josh's 2x4. And Josh rolls Blackblood up for a small package pin because nobody kicks out of the small package.
Especially in 2021.
Damn straight. Most deadly move in the sport. But Uncle Dave says, quote, nobody cared, but the work was solid. Dustin Rhodes interfered for the Josh win, thus making it 4 people he single-handedly beat on the same show.
Like a boss.
Right. Freaking Uncle Dave, freaking hated the Rhodes family. I think now he fondles himself to them, but he used to just, like, he had a vendetta against Dusty, man, and that transferred over to Dustin.
Well, because Dusty wouldn't talk to him.
Yeah, it's like, well, Dusty's always putting it. Well, no, it's because he was friends with Ric Flair, and Ric Flair and Dusty didn't get along, therefore, he had to hate him. Uncle Dave gave this a 1 3/4 stars. I gave it an even 2 stars. I thought it was an interesting brawl for what it was. What say you?
I gave it 2. I didn't hate it, didn't love it.
Yeah, it wasn't completely awful or anything. It just didn't, really interest me all that much.
47 body slams, though, kept me intrigued.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why. I feel like every time I was like taking a note, oh, another body slam, oh, another body slam. I was like, is that all you guys do? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult the deceased here, but man, what's his name? It was terrible.
Big Josh?
Yeah.
Or Matt Bourne, whatever. Yeah.
That's another thing. Why do they call him Big Josh? His name is Matt.
I don't know. And like, why did they think Big Josh sounded like a lumberjack name? Because when I hear that name, I don't think lumberjack.
When I hear big anything, I think of like a 500-pound dude.
Yeah.
Like big news.
Yeah, like he was muscular, but yeah, he wasn't like huge or nothing. I don't know. But he did have an impeccable tan, I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, he could have headlined Starrcade any day, any year, any month of the year.
Yeah, right. But now we go to the perv Eric Bischoff on the ramp to interview Kevin Sullivan and One Man Gang before their match. These two look like a combo of two drunk guys at a Judas Priest concert and Danny McBride. Either
Talk
that
about
or
the contrastion contrast of size here.
Yeah, I know, right? That also makes it funny.
They look like Arnold and Danny DeVito with twins.
Oh my gosh! But if you can put these two thoughts together, it's like two drunk guys at a Judas Priest concert and Danny McBride and Channing Tatum from This Is the End.
Yeah.
Like combine that. If anybody doesn't get that reference, go back and check out This Is the End. You'll know what I'm talking about. Apparently, before this match, they shaved El Gigante's head. Sullivan cuts a promo.
Yeah, which pissed me off, by the way, because of the mullet.
I know, no mullets. Like, what the? You get 0 mullets in that match. I don't even know what to say.
I also always wondered, what happened to his mullet? It just randomly went away one time.
El Gigante's?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to say. But Sullivan cuts a promo that makes David Bowie's dialogue and Labyrinth sound normal.
Wow.
So, something about a river of fear and the lady with a third eye and the death wagon. Okay.
You did say they look like a couple of drunk guys, so there you go. There's that.
Like, I feel like Sullivan dropped some acid and just wrote crap out on a legal pad. It was like, I'm gonna say this on camera, brother. But now El Gigante comes to the ring carrying a little person and accompanied by 3 other little people. What the fuck? I don't even know what's going on.
I was watching it back and I'm like, I don't remember this being a thing.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out like, what was the point. Oh god, I might get heat for this. Was it a shot at Kevin Sullivan?
I don't know. It's like the 3 little people are out there to combat the one short guy. But this match was One Man Gang with Kevin Sullivan taking on El Gigante with 4 random little people. This was billed as a come as you are battle of the giants, whatever the F that means.
Back then it meant however you were dressed, no wrestling gear.
Okay, well, but they were wearing wrestling gear.
Yeah, so my take on that is that's how they always are.
They're just always ready.
Hey, have you ever seen John Cena do anything? He's always in his jorts and his wrestling gear.
I know. I gotten into arguments with people about that before. They're like, well, he's always ready. I'm like, but why?
Excuse me, that's Matt Cardona. He's always ready. I don't know where the hell they're getting this from.
Right. But I was like, it's not like he's the hardcore champ. Like, what the frick, dude?
We call it 24/7 champ now, dude, okay?
Yeah. But this one went 6 minutes and 13 seconds. 6 minutes too long.
I'm sorry, by the way, if anybody hears like a motorcycle in the back, some idiots revving it.
Nice. But the 4 little people attack one-man Gang and then Kevin Sullivan, leaving Gang to El Gigante. Eventually, Sullivan hands a pipe wrench to Gang, who uses it on El Gigante. Sullivan ends up, even gets in on it. One-man Gang hits the 747 on El Gigante, but Gigante throws the big man off of the cover. Sullivan tries to go up top to interfere, but and he gives Gang some powder. Gigante kicks the powder into Gang's eyes, clotheslines his back, and then pins him for the win. Uncle Dave gave this negative 1.5 stars. I give it 1 star because this was the best El Gigante match I've ever seen, which is faint praise. What say you?
I gave it 1 star. El Gigante sucked.
All right, the build-up package for the next match reminds us that Nikita Koloff clotheslined Sting with a chain on his arm back at Super Brawl, which we covered now in the archives, by accident. He was actually trying to hit Luger, and it cost them the match. Then, on WCW Pro, Koloff clotheslined Sting in the entryway with the chain and beat him up again. And at a recent Clash of the Champions, Sting was hanging out with a little Stinger at ringside, and Koloff again clotheslined Sting with a chain and beat him down. Nikita then acted like he
was a working little Stinger, right?
Never know. It might be a shooting one. Because Nikita acted like he was going to go after and attack the youngster, in the words of Tony Schiavone. Do you notice that he just kept calling him a youngster?
Yeah, he did that a lot. I believe he called Cody that when he was on an episode of Nitro at one point.
Good Lord, he has some weird terminology, man.
No, that's a Southern thing, I think. That's what I pass off as.
Probably. Well, he should have called him a youngin.
No, I believe youngin in that term is like your child.
It could be. I don't know. But Jim Ross.
Just going off of what I've heard people say.
Yeah, maybe. But Jim Ross was there with the kid. He tries to shield the kid, and then the kid's mom, the parent actually steps in on one of these. The mom stands in front of him to shield him. My question was, where was the dad?
I don't give a damn what dad you are. You going to take on Nikita Koloff?
Yeah, he's like, hey, would you hit a woman? He's like, holds his wife out there. But yeah, that leads us to this. It's
real quick. Can I go on a side note or a side tangent real quick?
Yeah.
What the hell did everybody see in Nikita Koloff? Watching his stuff back, man, he is terrible.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. And just, I don't know. He was the evil Russian. He was passable.
But he wasn't Russian, right? Correct me if I'm
No, he was
wrong.
American.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think Arn Anderson was talking about that first time he came into the territory, and he walked up to him, and he's like, hi, I'm Marty Lundy. Nice to meet you. And he says something in Russian, whatever, and he's like, okay. And he said, and he went, I can't remember who he said he talked to. He was like, hey, you guys got yourself a shoot Russian. And they laughed, and they're like, he's from Wisconsin or something like that. And he's like, seriously? And they're like, yeah, no, that's just him. And they're like, he lives the gimmick. He's like, all right.
That's admirable.
To an extent, but they said he just
still
like
does it to this day.
Yeah, I feel like
if like he's old, but you know what I mean.
I feel like if you're out in public, okay, but if you're in the locker room, you're gonna kayfabe the boys. Like, really?
No.
I feel bad using that terminology. Like I am a mark, but this is Nikita Koloff versus Sting in a Russian chain match, which is different than a regular chain match because I guess he had this one imported. This one went about
chains.
Russian chains are us, maybe. But this match
went, I like it. Code of match.
Wow. This one went a little over 11.5 minutes. Koloff comes out to no music. Either that or they were playing music super soft to the point of where I couldn't even hear it.
Could have been trademarked too.
Yeah. But most of the first half of this match takes place outside of the ring, which is an interesting move.
Should surprise nobody.
Yeah, this was just an interesting move for this kind of match. So, I don't know. This was like, you got to touch all 4 turnbuckles for those out there that are wondering the rules. But so far, this is the best match of the night, in my opinion. Both men touch 3 turnbuckles. Sting hits the Stinger Splash into the 4th turnbuckle, causing Koloff to touch the 4th corner first and win. And Uncle Dave gave it 2.25 stars. Maybe I was just overly impressed because everything else has not been good. I gave it 3. What do you say?
I gave it 2. I didn't hate it, but like I said, Nikita's just not good. But his opponent, on the other hand, is quite good.
Oh, yeah. I felt these two did really well. I like this one. But, yeah, it is what it is. After the match...
We've seen worse. Can I say that?
Yeah, that is very true. They announced him... By the way, they announced Koloff from Lithuania. So it's not from Russia. So it's part of the... To put it in context, that was one of the places that Russia took over when it was the USSR. So that's why it's, like, similar. But anyway, they made sure to mention that. That's the only reason I know. But after the match, the men brawl until Sting gets thrown outside. He gets back in and he crotches Koloff with the chain for, like, the 10th time. I hope Nikita was wearing a cup.
That was like a thing with the chain back then.
Yeah.
Everybody had it nailed on their crotch.
Well, did you notice he did like 10 low blows in this one? I'm like, dude, enough. Quit beating up his junk. Hit him in the soft spot.
Maybe that was a soft spot.
Yeah, right? But, I know we always take our break before the main event, but the main event's not really much in this one. So we're going to take our break here. It's basically the main event. When we come back, we're going to cover the last 2 matches on the card, as there's not much to get into with the actual main event. So we'll be right back after this quick break to dig into the last 2 matches of the show.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. Fanatics offers the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and gear from all the leagues, teams, and players that you love, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, NCAA, NASCAR, soccer, and golf. They even offer esports gear for the gamers among us. You can shop by brand, sport, team, or player. And if you sign up for Fan Cash, you get exclusive weekly deals. So head on over to Fanatics.com today. Fanatics is a sponsor of the Main Event Marks and Unhinged Sports Network. The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back. And look, I know you want to play up your main event, but the build-up package for this claims it, quote, could be one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. No. It couldn't.
This is off the heels of Orton and Edge.
Yeah.
Along the vein of Orton and Edge.
Yeah. At least that one was more realistic. This one was Lex, and don't get me wrong, I love both these guys, but it's Lex Luger and Barry Windham in a cage. No. It's no. But alright. Also in the video, we get to see that WCW officially ditched the old US title, and they got their own brand new one that they would carry on until they shuttered. So... But alright, it's Barry Windham taking on Lex Luger in a steel cage match for the vacant WCW World's Heavyweight title, the brand new off-the-line WCW title. How did you feel about this title, by the way?
I was looking at it during this, too. I was like, I didn't hate it, but it looked like an undercard title to me.
I could see that. I liked the look of it. I don't know. I felt like it reminded me of, like they tried to rip off something from the WWF, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It made it into a couple of video games.
Yeah, it did. It's still in current day 2K game. So there's that.
Yeah, because you can have the big gold or you can have this. There you go.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I just felt like it was lazy.
Yeah. But what did I say earlier? Oh, first of all, this went about 12 and a half minutes for a world title match in a cage. What did I say earlier, Greg, about not trusting WCW graphics?
Yeah, right.
As Barry Windham's entrance graphic reads, Barry Windham. No H. Just
What's funny to me is I thought they had these all pre-made.
Yeah. What? Remember when they had the big ass sparking sign for Ric Flair that read R-I-C-K Flair?
Yes.
That
tells me they had some external help.
Yeah, well, and it also tells me that they had no quality control. They were like, who gives a damn? Put it up.
Quality control and double check and fact checkers.
I know. It's like, you guys sucked. But why can't this company ever spell their damn wrestlers' names correctly? That's what I want to know. The match starts. I'm
going to say this. Windham is kind of a unique name. So there's a couple ways to spell it. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that's what I think happened. So.
Yeah, but they should have freaking known, especially for their damn world title match. It's just, whatever. But the crowd starts this match by chanting, "We want Flair," killing this before it ever got started. Man.
I get that it sucks, but man, what a compliment.
Right? I'm sure Flair was just like trying to hide his erection when he saw this.
Oh yeah, Ric Flair is known for hiding his erections.
That's true. You got me. But towards the end of the match, Harley Race and Mr. Hughes walk to the ring in suits. What a combo.
Motley crew for you.
Right? But while Barry Windham is telling Mr. Hughes off, Harley Race comes up to Lex Luger outside the cage and he says, "Now it's time." Which apparently means Luger hitting a running knee to the back of Windham, and then he hits a pile driver and he pins him for the win. Man, what a heel move, right? Beating him fairly.
Right.
Uncle Dave says, quote, "Kind of a tough situation for them because the whole crowd was there to turn on the match, and they could not have had a good enough match to turn them back." I
think they were there to turn on the company, honestly.
That's true. Lots of near falls and good moves, but Barry had a bad knee, and Luger is Luger, end quote.
Oh, shit.
I know. He always crapped on Luger. Especially during this era, I thought Luger was great. But Uncle Dave and I both gave this 3 stars. What say you?
I did too. I loved it.
I thought it was well above
really
average. Good. Yeah. The first time I feel like, because I've seen this before, I feel like the first time I watched it, I liked it better. And I watched it back and I'm like, it was good. But I've seen Barry do better with other people. I've seen Lex do better with other people. But they did fine, especially for Barry being slipped in at the last second. So, it is what it is.
That poor guy, you gotta give him a lot of credit though. It was like, man, he came in a tough situation.
Oh, I know. And then they had to deal with the "We Want Flair" chants. Ah, man. But after the match, Harley holds up Luger's arm in victory before they leave. Barry Windham looks like how we all feel, confused. Oddly enough, this is not the main event. Why? Don't know. Because you always end on a short gimmick match, right?
Hell yeah. Have you ever seen Saturday Night's main event?
Yeah. But this is a freaking pay-per-view. And one of their biggest at the time. I don't know. But yeah, I'm still, I think everybody was confused. They're like, so we got a double turn, I guess? And also, for those out there that don't know, during this time, Barry Windham had a bounty out on the yellow dog that whoever could unmask him, he'd pay a bounty. So, is that gone now?
Windham's a small dude, so he couldn't do it himself.
Yeah, well, the Widowmaker has to have help.
He brought that up. Wow. You should be slapped for that.
I kind of like that nickname, the Widowmaker. I mean, I don't like that as just his name, but it's like, that kills that gimmick dead. So now he's a babyface, I guess? I don't know. And Luger's a heel for reasons.
He's a heel.
But this is our actual main event. It is, and I'm not stuttering here, Arn Anderson and Paulie Dangerously versus Rick Steiner and Missy Hyatt in a mixed match tag team cage match.
Man, took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. It went 2 minutes, 8 seconds.
2 minutes, 7 seconds, too long.
The Hardliners, which was Dick Slater and Dick Murdoch, show up again to kidnap Missy Hyatt to start the match, making Rick look like a complete moron because he did nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's what makes Rick Steiner look like a moron.
Oh, man, we crap on him on a weekly basis, I've noticed.
Well, I know why you do.
Yeah, well, he had it coming for me. But a fan punches Dick Murdoch right in the face as he passes. Did you see that?
I did not.
He punches him in the face and he drops Missy.
Oh.
And he pulls back his fist like he's ready to cold cock the guy, and then he thinks better of it. And I think Dick Slater was like, whoa, come on. And Murdoch was like, brr, and he picks up Missy and they walk on. Dude, It's plain as day. This guy in the front row is just like out of nowhere, bam.
I gotta go back and watch this.
I was like, holy crap. That guy's got cojones of steel. You're gonna just like haul off on Dick Murdoch? Like, damn, dude.
He might have legit killed him.
Yeah, I wonder if Murdoch pointed that guy out to security and was like, bring him to the back after the show. I want to have a discussion with him. They used to do that, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows that, but anyway, Arn comes off the top and gets Steiner lined out cold. Rick then beats up Paul, hits a Steiner line on him, and then pins him. Uncle Dave and I both gave it a dud. It sucked. What say you?
Gave it a star.
Wow. It's quite a compliment.
I was like, honestly, I mean, maybe I missed something, or clearly I didn't, but I was like, was this a dark match after, and they're just throwing it on here for our benefit?
Nope.
What's going on? That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, this is a played-up main event that they've been talking about throughout the whole show. Like, it was a big deal. Like, why? And I get the appeal of well, not the appeal, but I get why they had 2 cage matches back-to-back, because you don't want to set it up, tear it down, put it up again. But why not this and then the title match?
Because we don't want to be making sense now, do we?
Yeah, this just like, what the freaking hell, dude? But Rick Steiner runs out of the cage and to the back, because now he's going to go save Missy Hyatt.
Well, you got to get the match done first. You gotta get paid, dude.
Oh, yeah. But now we go back to Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone to wrap up the show, and then a metric ass ton of pyro blows on the stage and above the ring, and that's how we end this one. Good Lord. That's a mercy killing right there. But we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, it's the final ratings and what's to come next week on the podcast.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event_Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event_Marks and at Main Event Collector. Fubo TV offers you live sports and TV without the overpriced cable. Fubo TV offers 100 channels, live and on demand, plus over 130 streaming in 4K, and a cloud DVR is included. The Fubo TV app is available on all smart devices, so you can watch what you want when you want. There are no hidden fees, and you can cancel anytime. Cut the cord and sign up for your free trial at Fubo.tv today. Fubo TV is a sponsor of the Main Event Marks and Unhinged Sports Network. Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back. Final ratings time, everybody. A Wrestling Observer reader poll gave this event 0% thumbs up, 99.2% thumbs down, and 0.8% thumbs in the middle. Oh, man. IMDb gave it 5.8 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it an astounding 2.54 out of 10. I gave it a 6 out of 10. F. What do you say?
Give it an F.
Yeah, this blew all kinds of ass.
I know it was missing Flair, and I know that's what everyone wanted, but would that have really saved this show?
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Ric Flair versus Lex Luger would not have saved this show at all. Just why? There were so many matches that even if they weren't horrible, they gave them way too much time, and they sucked.
Whole thing sucked.
Whole thing sucked. But what will not suck, ladies and gents, is coming up next week. I'm really looking forward to this. Next week is actually our 2-show week, where we will have a regular show on Wednesday and then our bonus show on Friday. Next Wednesday is WWF King of the Ring 1996. It is the 25-year anniversary of the show.
One of the all-time great pay-per-views, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I assume you watched this one live?
I did.
Nice. Yeah, I was not quite watching wrestling yet, but man, I watched this one back and I loved every second of it. Not to give away anything, not to say that like everything on the show was like 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome, whatever, but it was a good show, very entertaining, for one reason or another. And
Interesting moment in the show that we'll talk about during it, right after the very first match.
Yeah, and it's
I think it's the only time this has ever happened in wrestling history to this day. I could be very wrong on that.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to talk about that. There's a lot of historic stuff on the show too.
There's one very historical moment.
Right. I mean, there was the birth. Obviously, everybody knows. I mean, it's not like a spoiler or anything. It was, the birth of the Austin 316 thing, and the much less talked about the birth of, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Yep.
That was the first time he broke that out. So there's that.
I like how it was all on a whim too.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Austin was born accidentally.
Yeah, I was watching his A&E documentary or biography, whatever, when he was talking about that. And he was like, yeah, I didn't really have anything to finish the promo with, and I was like, well, I need to put an exclamation point on it. So I was just like, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. He's like, I just said it, and he's like, and it's stuck. So,
and I accidentally made $1 trillion with it.
Yeah. It's like, whoops. and then, and the other thing we talked about, this is the very next pay-per-view after Beware of Dog, which is now in the archives.
We're hovering a lot in this era.
We are, just because of the anniversary. So, Beware of...
I just point out, I think it's the Forgotten Era. That was fun.
It really was. And like I said, it was a transition, rebuilding period. I mean, you're going to see that a lot, even with Stone Cold and with Shawn Michaels and different talents and whatnot. Brett was not here. I think Brett was off acting at this point. I think he was doing Lonesome Dove or whatever the hell.
I think this was, the 96? Yeah. Yeah.
So he thought he was going to be a big actor, and, not exactly. But either way, we talked about on the last, Beware of Dog show, it was Shawn Michaels versus British Bulldog for the title. Didn't impress anybody. Wasn't a very good match. Well, this one cleared that bar and then some. I'll just say that. So, again...
There's a moment in here that's 12-year-old Greg marked out to. We'll get to that, too. I think you know what it is.
Perhaps.
You know what? I'm gonna easy on the editing, but you know what I mean.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that all next week. And then the bonus show next Friday is WCW Great American Bash 2000. The very last Great American Bash. Not
to spoil anything, but we're going to give you a good show and then some, that.
Well, we got to wash the taste of a great out of your mouth with some crap. I mean, what would it be if we
do a really different palate cleanser on this show?
You're right. Well, I just now realized both of the Great American Bashes I booked this month suck. And last year we covered Bash 96, and that was a damn good show.
Much like King of the Ring 96, it was. I didn't even realize that, dude. Like in that month.
Yeah, some great wrestling.
Man, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's really good.
I've ever pieced that together till now. It all happened in June. That set up the glorious future of wrestling. Wow.
Yep. You have the start.
Right now. Sorry.
Well, you kind of had the start of the NWO, with a big moment from the Bash 96, if you go back and listen to that. And and obviously the big moment of the birth of Austin 316 at King of the Ring 96. So, yeah, two huge things that would change the industry forever.
Piece it together happened the exact same month.
Right. I know. It's nuts to think about. But, yeah, Great American Bash 2000, for the people that don't remember, Hulk Hogan took on Billy Kidman. Sting and Vampiro were in a Human Torch match.
Oh, yeah. You thought Hogan and Kidman sounded weird. Wait till you hear this one. That looks like a 5-star classic compared to this Human Torch crap.
Yeah. What do you mean crap, Greg? That was some good quality wrestling. All right, like
bro, it's gonna be lit on fire, bro.
Well, like Lou Thez and Carl Gotch were, I don't know. It was like they resurrected.
Shut the hell up.
This was good.
I'm not even gonna let you finish.
And like Pat O'Connor was like rolling in his grave for this one. I don't even know if he was dead at this point.
Yeah, someone was rolling in their grave for sure, but not for the reasons you imply.
I want to remind you all one more time, we are sponsored by Fubo TV and Fanatics. Click on the links down in the podcast description. And we are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on unhingedsn.airtime.pro. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you are listening on the podcast feed, and you can get all the archives on there. Thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sorry to start you out so early into our year 2 with all this crap. But hey, next week will be better with King of the Ring 1996.